Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us at our National Housing Justice Digital Rally, where we will hear from powerful leaders who are resisting evictions and organizing to cancel rent and mortgages. My name is Diane Enriquez, and I am at the Center for Popular Democracy. We are a network of grassroots organizations organizing to ensure that everyone, everywhere, has a home to thrive. The Center for Popular Democracy is a multiracial, multi-issue network. It includes 53 grassroots community organizations in 38 states and Puerto Rico. And last week, the Biden administration extended the eviction moratorium by 1 month until July 31st. However, we all know that this moratorium and the recent extension does not go nearly far enough to protect our families. During the pandemic, we experienced a complete failure of government to provide relief for working families and communities. More than 7 million tenants are currently behind. More than 7 million tenants are currently behind on rent and at risk of eviction when the CDC moratorium expires in July, with no national and few local protections for renters. This paltry extension comes at a moment when millions of renters have not yet been able to access rent relief that could help keep their families stable. Even before the pandemic, this country was facing a historic housing unaffordability and homelessness crisis. Families across the country need a long-term investment in our communities and a transformation of the housing system. Our communities have been in the streets since the pandemic began. We have been organizing eviction defense networks, winning rent relief to actually cancel rent locally, and expanding and strengthening tenant protections. We have been organizing to stop the bleeding of our communities, but we need to be looking forward to the future in the long term and ensure that we all have a home to thrive. The weak and insufficient CDC national eviction moratorium will expire in a month, and we need action from the Biden administration and Congress now. They need to ensure that the eviction moratorium is extended through the end of the year and that it is improved to extend an automatic universal eviction moratorium. Today, we will hear from impacted residents across the country, and we encourage you to join our efforts and join the movement for a just housing future where we all have a home to thrive. So to start us off, we will hear from leaders of the Arkansas Community Organization about the challenges of living in a place where the state and local government have ignored the needs of their constituents and failed to support families in crisis due to the pandemic. We will hear firsthand the limbo these families find themselves in when the CDC eviction moratorium is one of the few tools that stands between them and the trauma and upheaval of eviction. And first, we'll hear from Ashley Ponsary. Ashley, take it away.
Ponsary, and I'm located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I was laid off when the pandemic started due to COVID-19. After finding a full-time job in September of 2020, I was the victim of a domestic violence case in October 2020. It's been 9 months, and since the incident, I've still been in a walking boot. Ever since then, I've struggled emotionally, mentally, physically, and psychologically. I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, critical PTSD, and insomnia due to the domestic incident. I had to take numerous unpaid leaves of absences to take care of myself because there are still days I can't properly function. I've been excused from all of my military drills and training in the Air National Guard until I get my overall health in order. And I've been doing my best to get back to who I was, but it's been an extremely hard process for me. This May, I was so happy when I found out I had been accepted for rental assistance after an unbearably long waiting period, but my landlord didn't care about my situation. He actually refused the money and he said he just wanted me out. Since then, he has screamed at me, harassed me with random intrusive visits, made snide comments about me and my visitors, and done everything he can to intimidate me into leaving. I was excited that the Biden administration had passed new guidelines for renters whose landlords refused assistance, But apparently these new guidelines only applied to ERA2 programs and the funds came from ERA1. To date, Arkansas doesn't have any ERA2 programs, even though the funds passed all the way back in March. So even after everything I had done to get the rental assistance, I have nothing except the recent extension, which I really do appreciate, but I want to know and ask our president if there is a plan and when the moratorium ends, what will happen to millions of other people like me who will be kicked out of their home in the middle of a pandemic, deep in debt. My domestic violence suit is set to start trial on August 4th, and I'd really love to not be homeless sitting in the courtroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and we lend you all of our support and hope for the best with everything. Next, from the Arkansas Community Organization is Simone Robinson. Simone, we'd love to hear your story if you could share it with us.
Hello, my name is Simone Robinson from Arkansas. Well, I recently lost my job in January during COVID because I was working a full-time job and I eventually lost my job because I had to take off because my son was born with a lot of health problems. And also, I filled out for the Arkansas Rent Relief Program, but my landlord wouldn't accept it as well. And I'm trying to find all kind of means of trying to get some assistance, and because if I get evicted from my apartment, I have nowhere to go. I'll be homeless. And my son, he has a current brain injury when he was in the hospital. And right now, if we get evicted from our apartment, I will be homeless and have nowhere to go, and it'll be a disaster. And I think they should extend the moratorium to get more assistance out to people who really need it. Because if this this don't stop, it's gonna be a lot of people homeless, and there's gonna be a pandemic upon itself. So that's why I think they should go ahead and extend the moratorium and make it stronger for tenants like us that really need it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Simone. We absolutely need an extended moratorium through the end of the year. It needs to be stronger. It needs to create a universal eviction moratorium across the country. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. Next up, I want to bring up Yesenia Ramirez from Make the Road Pennsylvania to share her experience as well, and she'll be joined by an interpreter to work with her. So thank you both, Yesenia. Gracias por estar aquí.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Yesenia Ramírez, soy miembro de la Fundación Make Your Road Pennsylvania y estoy aquí para hablar de lo importante que es la moratoria de fin, pero los efectos que ha tenido en nuestras comunidades están lejos de terminar. Algunos de nosotros tenemos meses de retraso en el pago de la renta y todavía tenemos muchos otros gastos para mantener a flote nuestra familia.
Compa, ahí voy a empezar a interpretarme, perdona. So this is good afternoon. My name is Yesenia Ramirez, and I'm a member of Make the Road Pennsylvania. I'm here to talk about how important it is that the eviction moratorium is extended through December. The pandemic may be coming to an end, but the effects it has had on our communities are far from over, with many of us behind paying our rent, and we still have many other expenses to keep our families afloat.
Puedo decirle que todavía yo estoy sin trabajo, que perdí mi trabajo cuidando niños debido a la pandemia y que millones de personas en todo el país quedaron abandonadas. Los indocumentados. Okay.
I'm still out of work. I lost my job taking care of children, babysitting due to the pandemic. And there are millions of people across the country who are abandoned in this moment.
Los indígenas quedamos fuera de toda ayuda del gobierno, excluidos de los paquetes de estímulo. Y después de haber perdido el trabajo, he estado luchando para mantener mi familia segura y a flote. Tengo 3 niñas pequeñas, no tengo a nadie quien la cuide. Es difícil encontrar un trabajo y ser capaz de pagar por todos nuestros gastos de mantenimiento.
The undocumented were left out of the government aid, excluded from the stimulus packages, and after losing my job, I have been fighting to keep my family safe and afloat. I have 3 children and I have no one to take care of them.
Es difícil encontrar trabajo y ser capaz de pagar por todos nuestros gastos y mantenimiento. Además de eso, saber que podría desalojarme da mucho miedo porque no soy sola. Tengo mis 3 niñas, tengo mi familia. Y necesitamos tiempo para curarnos y encontrar trabajo sin temor a perder el techo sobre nuestra cabeza.
It is really difficult time. Right now, it's difficult to find work, to be able to pay for all of our costs. Besides that, knowing that they could evict me is very scary because it's not just me, it's also my children. We need time to heal and time to find work without fear of losing the roof over our heads.
Las familias trabajadoras se vieron muy afectadas durante esta. Necesitamos que Biden haga lo mejor para las comunidades que fueron devastadas el año pasado. Presidente Biden, por favor, proteja a nuestros niños y a nuestra familia. Merecemos irnos a dormir por la noche sin el temor de que mañana estemos en la calle.
Working families were hit hard during the pandemic. We need President Biden to do what is best for the communities that were devastated last year and through the pandemic. President Biden, protect our children and our families. We deserve to go to sleep at night without the fear that tomorrow we will be on the street. Ending the eviction moratorium would be devastating for families.
Thank you so much, Yesenia, for your sharing your experience and being so brave and calling and joining us here. So next, I want to call up Valeria Aliete from Make the Road Nevada, who will also be joined by our interpreter. So Valeria.
Hola. Ok, mi nombre es Valeria Alietti, buenas tardes. Yo soy líder y miembro y líder de Make the Road Nevada y vivo en Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Valeria Alietti, member leader with Make the Road Nevada, and I live in Las Vegas.
Soy mamá y papá de 3 hijos y miembro del Comité de Justicia de Vivienda.
I'm a mom and dad of 3 children and a member of the Housing Justice Committee.
Durante esta pandemia me he dedicado a informar y a organizar a mi comunidad con mi programa Mi Mejor Color.
During the pandemic, I have dedicated myself to informing and organizing my community with my online program, Mi Mejor Color.
Junto con Make the Road estamos luchando para que nuestras familias en situaciones críticas no queden desalojadas.
Together with Make the Road, we are fighting and organizing so that our families in critical situations are not evicted.
En esta crisis yo he visto el impacto a mi comunidad en lo psicológico, la familia y el impacto a los niños y adolescentes.
In this crisis, I have seen the impact on my community in the psychological terms, in terms of the family, and the impact on children and adolescents.
Yo tuve el momento en el que mi hijo adolescente me dijo, ¿para qué vivimos en este castillo si no tenemos dinero?
I had a moment when my eldest son told me, why are we living in this castle if we don't have any money?
A mí me impactó como mamá cuando yo renté esa situación, cuando yo renté esta casa, yo estaba bien económicamente.
And that statement impacted me deeply as a mother. When I had began renting this house, I was financially well off.
Tenía mi negocio de limpieza de casas y empezaron a llegar los textos de cancelación por la transmisión del COVID.
I had a house cleaning business that was going well, and then suddenly the cancellation texts began to arrive due to COVID and the pandemic.
Yo como trabajadora también tenía el temor de ser infectada con el COVID.
As a worker, I myself was also afraid of being infected with COVID.
Más de 500,000 inquilinos están en riesgos de ser desalojados en Nevada.
More than 500,000 tenants are at risk of being evicted in Nevada.
Es por eso que me uní a los esfuerzos de Make the Road para informar a los inquilinos en Nevada sobre sus derechos.
That's why I joined Make the Road and its efforts to educate tenants in Nevada about our rights.
También he participado en eventos para ayudar a inquilinos a aplicar por asistencia de renta.
I've also participated in events to help tenants apply for rental assistance.
Hay mucha desinformación, por eso es que mi enfoque es en que la información correcta y recursos lleguen a nuestras familias.
In these times, there's a lot of misinformation, and that's why my focus has been on getting the correct information and resources to our families.
La moratoria de desalojos de CDC siempre ha sido confusa y causa mucho temor a los inquilinos.
The CDC's eviction moratorium has always been confusing and causes a lot of fear for tenants.
Los inquilinos no saben que tienen que firmar la declaración y entregarla a su arrendador.
The tenants do not know that they have to sign a declaration of hardship and give it to their landlords.
Yo asisto con la gente en eventos y me cuentan cómo fueron desalojados porque no sabían de la declaración del CDC.
You know, I run into people at events and they told me how they were evicted simply because they did not know about the CDC statement and moratorium.
Por eso le pedimos, por favor, a la administración Biden y a nuestros representantes para que hagan más por proteger a los inversores.
We call on the Biden administration and our representatives to do more to protect all of us.
Si yo no supiera que existe esta ayuda, no sé qué hubiera hecho cuando la pandemia nos impactó económicamente.
If I didn't know that there was this help, I really don't know what I would have done when the pandemic hit us financially.
En nuestra comunidad cada día es una incertidumbre no saber qué pasará con nuestros hogares y estamos cansados de vivir en riesgo de ser desalojados.
In our community every day, we are living with the uncertainty, not knowing what will happen to our homes and families, and we are tired of living at the risk of being evicted.
No todo el mundo logró tener los beneficios que otros tuvieron y es muy importante de aclarar eso.
Not all of us were blessed with the support and guidance to be able to navigate these times, and it's important for all of us to be brought up to speed with these processes.
La situación mental de grandes, niños, adolescentes está en juego.
The livelihood and mental well-being of so many people, including our young people, are at very serious risk right now.
Unidos somos fuerza y sí se puede.
United, we are strong, and yes, we can.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Valeria. So thank you very much, Valeria, for joining us and your powerful words. And just a reminder for everyone, united, we are absolutely, most definitely stronger. Please sign the petition. There's a link to it on the banner. And we'll be sharing a link to it in the chat. And just please sign our petition to President Biden and the administration and Congress to extend the eviction moratorium through the end of the year. I also want to give a quick shout out to our digital illustrator who's joining us throughout this call and rally, and you know, drawing the different images and ideas and needs that are coming out of the conversation that we're having here today. So thank you very much. And again, please sign our petition. And so next, I want to introduce Joshua Bridges from Action North Carolina to share a little bit about his experience in North Carolina. So thank you for joining, Josh.
Yes, how you doing? Unfortunately, I want to talk not only as someone who works directly with people who are affected by this, but someone who's been affected as well. Personally, I've been living in a situation where my landlord increased fees, also increased my rent rates, and there was no rhyme or reason. But I was sent this notification during a rent cycle after the rent was paid, and I was forced to oblige. As I decided to fight these fees, they then started intimidation tactics, sending me letters, quoting statutes, quoting laws that were meant to get me out of the apartment within 30 days. In the last year, I've seen multiple residents in my own building get kicked out. And I'm sure it's simply because of the intimidation tactics. Unfortunately, what I've seen, not only personally, and thankfully I was able to know the folks at Action NC and able to work with people that were able to make my landlord abide by the laws rather than continue to try to force me out unjustifiably so and continue to try to charge fees that were unjust. Unfortunately, there are so many folks that don't know what the rights are, and there's so many folks who don't have the allies that are being kicked out. There's one family in particular I work with, the Isaacs. It's a family of 9. They are actually on the verge. A few weeks ago, we were bringing them goods, and just looking at their faces, like literally as they talk, they said we have 8 days until we're homeless. And thank God they sent me a text the very morning it was extended. They sent me a text ecstatic. They also were letting me know, hey, we're trying. They want to move. They're actually not just trying to be freeloaders. These families are people who are hardworking, but unfortunately, a lot of them are being intimidated. A lot of them are facing a lot of obstacles that we know the Biden administration has the power to help out. So again, I hope and we are calling upon the Biden administration to extend the moratorium. Not only that, but to help and try to extend policies that are going to force these landlords to focus on people instead of the profits. That's all I got, guys.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Next up, we have Tasha Tucker, who is also joining us from Action North Carolina. Tasha, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
How you doing? Is that better?
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Tasha. I'm a mom of 5 and have been in this situation for quite some time that we've just gotten out of, being homeless and or living in a hotel. The pandemic did not help us at any rate. And then we have these promises of help. Right now, I'm in a apartment building that is raising their rent by November, $300 more, as if we can afford it now. We're barely getting by right now, and they want the rent up, $300. I'm in a 2-bedroom. That would make my rent $1,575. Then it's just difficult. It's difficult when we get these promises of help and nothing is being done. We're out, I go out with Action NC. We've seen the process even before the pandemic of homelessness and everybody being kicked out and these unlawful tactics to get us out of these apartments. People living in squalor and with roaches and rats and mold and stuff like that, and they're trying to hold on to what they have. We're calling for help. Like, we need more than just empty promises. We need the help here on the streets. I heard Joshua say, the family of 9. We have an entire apartment complex here that gave everyone notice that they had 21 days to vacate because a corporate landlord bought them out. So you're going to have 400 families. You're going to have 300 families that's on the street. So yeah, we definitely need the help, because the rise of homelessness, I mean, even with the pandemic and everybody losing their jobs, now homelessness is going to go up even more. I don't care what the stats say everywhere else. I'm seeing it for myself. I have been homeless for 3 years, and we just moved into an apartment that they are raising the rent on. So our jobs are no longer going to be able to sustain this rent. It's just sad all the way across. So I mean, Biden would definitely have to do what he says he's going to do. If you're going to help us, help us. Let it not just be about talk. Let it not just be, empty promises and beautiful words. Put some action to that. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tasha, for your moving words. And we are absolutely here to take action. We're here to pressure Biden and Congress to take action, to keep their promises and actually take care of our communities and their constituents the way that they are meant to do. Public service is a duty, and their duty and responsibility goes to us, the community and the people and the voters. And so because of that, we're pushing everyone to sign our petition, to pressure Biden and Congress to extend the moratorium through the end of the year, and really heed our call. And next, I want to bring up Donna Price from Detroit Action so that she can share her experience as a renter in the pandemic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Price from Detroit Action. I am the Housing Justice Chair. And in Detroit, the eviction moratorium ends on June. Well, actually, in Michigan, it ends June the 30th. And the extension from the CDC is June the 31st. We have approximately 5,000 people on our eviction list right now, and we already have a homeless crisis. We don't need people losing their homes. We need to keep people in their homes. What we really need is for the police to stop helping landlords evict people illegally, and to extend the moratorium at least 6 months after the eviction, after the COVID ends. Housing in Detroit is not an easy thing. We have rent going up. We don't have enough housing stock for low income, no income people. We have programs in place like the SARA program, which is supposed to help with home repair and rent, but it is slow. A lot of people don't know about it. They haven't applied for it. And then you have barriers where people are being denied. So that makes it even harder. And it takes so long for them to get the money. The landlords are not waiting, and they're kicking people out on the street anyway. This is a problem, a serious issue, and no one should have to be put out on the street. Our children need sustainable housing, safe housing, housing they can depend on. We also have a health crisis because there is a housing crisis and people can't stay in their homes. We have mental illness out here. We're still fighting COVID. We need for the Biden administration to extend this moratorium at least 6 months after the moratorium ends, to keep people in their house, because housing is a human right. A couch is not a home. We can't sleep in these new parks they're putting up. We need housing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we need housing. We need immediate action now. And people are experiencing this all over the country, right? From Nevada, California, Arkansas, North Carolina, to Michigan, and now New York. I want to invite Iris Tavres from New York Communities for Change, joined by Joel, our interpreter.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Soy Iris Tavares. Pertenezco a la organización NYCC de East New York. Soy una líder.
Hello, my name is Iris Tavares. I am a leader with NYCC New York.
Yo soy madre de 4 hijas. Realmente desde la pandemia, antes de la pandemia, yo soy home attender. Tuve que dejar de trabajar por lo de la pandemia del COVID.
I have 4 daughters, and I worked as a home attendant before the pandemic, and I've been struggling since the pandemic hit.
Yo no perdí mi trabajo, pero debido a mis hijas, tuve que quedarme en la casa con ellas, cuidándolas para que ellas pudieran estudiar.
Even though I didn't lose my job, with 4 daughters, I had to make sure to stay home to take care of them throughout this pandemic.
Realmente antes de la pandemia estaba pasando un proceso de corte, que todavía estoy en el proceso de corte para desalojo.
And even before the COVID pandemic, I was already in court proceedings, specifically on an eviction case.
Ha sido muy difícil para mí. Ya llevo 1 año y 3 meses sin poder trabajar.
It's been really difficult for me. It's already been 1 year and 3 months since I've been able to work.
Ahora mismo solamente estoy con mi desempleo. Tengo que mudarme. Realmente la renta está muy cara. No puedo pagar una renta de $2,000 porque tengo una familia grande y necesito un apartamento de 3 habitaciones.
I am right now on unemployment. It's been very, very hard. We are facing the reality that we are likely going to have to move, and rent is just too high right now. I can't pay a rent of $2,000 or more dollars, and the reality is that I have a big family. We need at least an apartment with 3 bedrooms.
Realmente todo este proceso de la pandemia, de que me tengo que mudar, mi income es totalmente bajo. Solamente recibo $2.65 semanal de mi desempleo.
Yeah, it's been a really difficult process for me, this pandemic. It's not just the pandemic, but the reality of being evicted and having to move. We are a low income family. Right now, I'm receiving about $265 weekly from unemployment.
He aplicado Housing, NYCHA, he aplicado a Housing Connect, también he aplicado para Sesión 8, también he aplicado para, ahora mismo yo no cualifico para el programa de la renta relief, del programa de la renta relief, debido a que ellos quieren el espacio.
Yeah, right now, I've been applying to all sorts of different housing options. I've been really on top of it. I've been applying to lotteries. I've been looking into public housing, which we refer to as NYCHA here in New York City. I've been looking at other programs like Housing Connect and Section 8. But unfortunately, I do not qualify for many of these programs. And ultimately, the landlord just wants to see us out of this apartment.
Es muy difícil porque cuando uno aplica todo, igual que a esos housings de Housing Connect, me da mucha tristeza porque también el income es muy alto. Están haciendo apartamentos, están haciendo todos esos edificios, ¿para quién? Porque para nosotros no lo están haciendo, para las personas de bajo income, realmente.
Yeah, and what's becoming clear to me is that with these different programs, whether it's Housing Connect or Section 8, all of these things that I'm applying for, a lot of their standards to be able to qualify for these programs, the income is super high. And that leads me to believe even the affordable housing, for who are they making these apartments? For who are they building these buildings? They're not for us. They're not for the working class families.
Realmente son un inco de $60,000 65,000, 40,000 y todavía una lista de espera que uno tiene que esperar. En el caso mío, yo ahora mismo estoy en suspenso. ¿Por qué? Porque en cualquier momento a mí me puede llegar un desalojo. Aparte de que la dueña de la casa, aparte que quiere el espacio, dice que desde marzo de 2020 yo le debo renta, pero entonces tampoco cualifico para el programa de la renta, porque el caso está como quieren el espacio, no es que le debo renta.
Mm. And right now, the landlord, it's been absolutely really difficult for me. Like I said, all of these different programs that I'm applying for and all these different apartments, they're asking for a minimum income of $65,000, $60,000, or even $45,000, which is way more than I make. And even a lot of these programs, I've ended up on the waiting list when the reality is that I can be evicted at any point. The landlord is claiming that I've owed rent since March 2020. The reality is that they just want to see me gone. They just want to evict me and my family.
Todavía yo sigo sin empleo porque ahora apenas van a comenzar en septiembre la escuela. Desde ahí yo puedo aplicar, yo puedo ir a trabajar y puedo comenzar, pero todavía, como digo, tengo que estar desempleada. ¿Quién me va a dar un apartamento? Aparte de que no lo puedo pagar con el income que yo tengo. Porque lo primero que te dicen, ¿cuál es tu income? No puedo pagar un apartamento de $2,000. Lo necesito porque tengo una familia grande. Y lo peor de todo, que he aplicado hasta home base, pero no cualifico porque no tengo un lease. ¿Cómo me pueden ayudar en un short deal si ni siquiera me dicen la cantidad que debo? Porque la dueña de la casa tampoco me da una carta porque no me la puede dar porque lo que quieren es el espacio. Es una situación muy difícil. Todos los días me levanto y le pido a Dios, Dios mío, ¿qué tú vas a hacer? Es tu obra nada más.
Yeah, right now I'm currently still on unemployment. I'm waiting, hopefully, when my daughters are able to go back to schools, when the schools open up in September, hopefully at that point I'll be able to find work because I've been unemployed this whole time taking care of my daughters. And ultimately, I wake up every day with a lot of stress, not knowing when they're going to evict us, and really in this really difficult situation because everywhere where I'm looking for housing, they're telling me that they need a high income. And right now I'm struggling to have any income as I take care of my children and try to figure out a housing situation that's fit for me and our family. And so it's just a really difficult situation because the landlord, like I said, won't even give me the documentation that I need to apply for a lot of these programs. They keep harassing us that we need to be evicted, and yet they're not even helping us with getting the information that I need to be able to apply and find other housing options.
De verdad, hago un llamado al presidente Biden, a todo su departamento, a todo el departamento de gobierno que trabaja junto con él, para que por favor, como yo, muchas familias se levantan con esta situación, que no tienen realmente dónde ir, no tienen ni siquiera cómo sobrevivir y realmente por estas razones y muchas, hagan un programa, hagan una base un programa que realmente podemos calificar. Hagan esos edificios que una gente de bajos recursos pueda calificar, porque no lo están haciendo. Entonces están diciendo, están haciendo programas, pero no calificamos realmente, porque el income es muy alto y la clase media no califica para eso. Por favor, por esa razón y por muchas más, como hay muchas familias, por eso estamos haciendo un llamado, alzando la voz para que pare la evicción, para que pague el desalojo realmente de cada familia como yo, como una mujer, como madre de 4 hijos, que hay muchas allá afuera. Realmente por eso estamos aquí, para unirnos totalmente, para hacerle un llamado al presidente John Biden para que pueda parar el desalojo.
Yeah, and for this reason, I'm really calling on the Biden administration passionately. I am one of many women, of many mothers, one of many families who are literally waking up every day in this situation where we literally do not have anywhere to turn. We have, honestly, it feels like no way to even survive. And so we need programs that are going to stop these evictions. We need programs that are actually provide affordable housing because right now a lot of the affordable housing programs are not affordable for working class and middle class families. And we absolutely have to call on the Biden administration to please hear us out. Us as a people, we have to raise our voices to stop these evictions and really make a demand for actual affordable housing.
Muchas gracias.
Many thanks.
An amazing testimony, and the truth is that, you know, much like what has been laid out by the speakers here today, the pandemic really highlighted a lot of the issues that we've been grappling with for decades before. And you know, all of the new housing that is being built is not affordable. Who's really profiting from this dynamic is the landlords, and this has created a free-for-all for corporate landlords to sort of do whatever they want. We are hearing from several places across the country and several renters across the country where their landlords simply don't want to accept rental assistance. They simply just want to move people out and capitalize on the crisis that is currently happening right now, where they can raise the rents up exponentially because there aren't enough tenant protections, because there aren't enough renter strength, and because our politicians are not really paying attention to the needs of the majority of the families in this country, which are tenants. And I want to pass it on to Jackie Lowry from the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment to speak about what's been happening in California, and how she's been organizing with folks locally. So Jackie.
Hi, this message is for the Biden administration and renters across this nation. Hello, my name is Jackie Lowry. I'm a member of ACE. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and a grandmother. And I'm also a renter in California. Today, we have heard from renters across this country, and we all have one common thread. We've all been affected by a pandemic that's unprecedented. Illnesses, joblessness, looming evictions, and unfortunately evictions that were carried out illegally. Some states like mine won small moratorium extensions, but in a lot of states, there are no protections at all. My family lost their jobs last year, and it has greatly affected us. While unemployment in California ends in September, so does our state moratorium. But California is not alone. Many states in this country, lifelines have been cut. Eviction cliffs are now eviction reality. This pandemic took a year to ravage this nation, and it will take years to come to heal from its destructive path. We need a federal moratorium, one that will protect the renters in this nation, a moratorium that renters and landlords can receive their rental assistance, to stay on unemployment until people can find suitable jobs that will support their rent. And more importantly, a moratorium that will protect tenants from evictions after rent has been paid. We need a sense of normalcy again. No one needs to feel the stress of losing their homes and living on the streets. Tenants across this nation, we must unite. No renter left behind. Housing is a human right. Stop the nationwide eviction cliff and extend the federal moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And really, I want to extend a big thank you and gratitude to all of the speakers that we've had here. We've had folks from across the country, in the South, in the Midwest, in the East Coast, and on the West Coast there to represent the 7 million tenants that are currently at risk of eviction if the president and Congress does not extend a universal moratorium through the end of the year, creates adequate access to rental assistance, institutes permanent tenant protections, and reins in the corporate landlords that are really profiting by the billions from this crisis and the suffering of American families every day. And so we're joining together today because we demand immediate action Please take a moment to sign our petition and join the fight at Renters Rising to build power and to end evictions so that we can all have a home to thrive. Again, I want to thank our interpreters. I want to thank our illustrator and all of the speakers, and to all of you that joined. Thank you so much. Please sign our petition and we will be in touch soon. Everyone, have a great day.